How much does American credit really cost for non-US business owners? See, if you're spending more than $10,000 a month on your business and your lifestyle combined, you're probably throwing away thousands of dollars just by not having access to American credit. Look, I'm a non-US citizen living in Canada, and I've personally gotten access to 6 figures worth of American credit without paying US taxes and relocating. And in this video, I'm going to show you the math that proves that getting American credit doesn't cost you money, it actually makes you more. In fact, the real cost isn't what you pay to get it. The real cost is what you lose every month by not having it. Now, as a quick disclaimer, this is for educational purposes only. I always advise you to consult with qualified professionals on your personal situation or just get in contact with my team. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. So for non-US citizens, there's two decisions that they can make when it comes to approaching this issue over here. It's either they can get access to the system or they can stay in their own credit or financial system. And so the big thing that you want to ask yourself is, what are the pros and what are the cons on either side? And most importantly, how much money, or like what is it actually going to cost me on both sides? And so just in a few seconds, I'm going to share with you my calculator that I break down for every prospect that speaks with us so that you can understand exactly what this will actually cost you. And then you can come to your own conclusion and figure out what you've got to do personally. But I need to emphasize that when it comes to accessing a new financial system, there's a lot of different bonuses that typically doesn't come to mind when it comes to accessing a new credit system. So I'm going to share my screen and we can break down the numbers when it comes to your cost of accessing the system. And so a lot of people believe that accessing the US credit system means you have to travel a lot, means that you have to do a lot of different extra details or pay some person or whatnot. It comes down to a very simple science. And so when it comes to accessing a new financial system, you've got a few expenses and then there's going to be the add-ons, right? So the actual reason why you want to access the system is for high cashback, high redemptions, access to funding, and actually inside of this calculator, I'm not even including the potential access to funding. And so just keep in mind, based on using a US credit card with high redemptions, you'll make a profit by having those credit cards, right? Because you either get cash back or points, but also the fact that you get access to credit lines that give you financial flexibility. Those are intangibles that you can't really calculate, right? Like if I was to give you $100,000 at 0% interest, you can assume that you'd make a lot of money in return, but I'm not going to write that down right now. I'm going to break down the simple numbers and just make it very direct by comparing the amount of cash back or points that you'll receive versus the fees and whatnot, not including the potential opportunity cost when it comes to having access to better funding, 0% interest terms and whatnot, right? And so when it comes to the cost that you'll pay to access a new credit system, which is the US financial system, there's a few things that you're going to need to incur, which is annual fees for the credit cards. The second one, which is the mailing address. The third one is going to be incorporation filing, right? So like the LLC cost, the C Corp costs and whatnot, and then other related costs, which I'll add on just in a few seconds. And then over here, you'll see after breaking down the expenses, then there is the actual redemptions, right? So how much cash back you'll get in retrospect. And so it actually breaks down how much it looks like compared to other credit system, which you'll see that if you've got a debit card, you're actually losing money. If you've got a foreign credit card, you're making a decent amount of profit because you've got that cash back. But comparing that to the American credit system, it is much higher. So let's go straight to the top and let me break down exactly what this looks like, because a lot of people are skeptical when it comes to, okay, how many points am I going to redeem? How much am I going to make by accessing this new credit system? Again, this is not a guarantee. Everyone's got a different situation. You've got to do your personal research. You can get in contact with my team, learn about this. But regardless, if you are spending about $10,000 a month, I've broken it down within two models, right? So this is the US model on a conservative basis, and this is the US model on an aggressive basis. And so basically this is assuming on the aggressive side that you will redeem your points at 3 cents per point. If you don't really care about points and whatnot, you can get cash back, right? But personally, with my clients, I recommend them to utilize the points because you can get more value out of your credit cards by utilizing the points. But again, you can get the cash back, it's fine. We will show you how to get higher redemptions. And then the other model is the conservative model. So if you don't travel a lot, you're like, JP, dude, I'm a simple guy, I live a simple life, then we actually broke it down on a conservative model, assuming a few other things such as the cents per point redemption would be 1.8 cents per point. And then what I did based on our statistical analysis of other credit systems, because personally, I'm a Canadian, I've got access to Canadian credit cards. I believe that this is accurate. We've also done this study within other clients of ours. But typically what you'll redeem with a foreign credit card, like Canadian credit card, UK credit card, is about a redemption rate of 0.8 cents per point, right? So not even 1 cent, it's going to be like zero point 0.8 cents, right? And so this is how much it would look like when it comes to the income that you'll make on that credit card, right? So on a assumed multiplier of 2x on the conservative side with the US credit cards, you'll earn 20,000 points per month, and the assumed cents per point is 1.8 cents. And then the monthly redemption is going to be about $360. The annual redemption is about 4K. Now, going on the aggressive side, which is what I actually aim all of our clients to reach, is basically a multiplier of 4x, which, by the way, with this credit card, you can reach a 4x multiplier. The points earned is 40,000 per month based on that $10,000 a month in spend, right? So you use that credit card on your ad spend and whatnot and different things, like you go to a restaurant, you use that credit card. Then the assumed cent per point is 3 cents per point. Your monthly redemption is going to be around 1.2K. And so even with just $10,000 a month worth of expenses, again, this is business plus lifestyle combined, you're already getting about $14,000 in annual redemption. So that's basically how much you would ideally make if you've got access to American credit. And so comparing that to other countries, this is assuming a 1x multiplier and the cents per point, that is 0.8 cents per point. And then debit card, you're of course getting nothing. And so when we take that data and you break it down on this chart, you can actually see that you will have higher annual fees, right? So you might get the Chase Sapphire Reserve, you might get the Chase Sapphire Preferred, the Amex Platinum and whatnot. So you're adding up those annual fees. You're also adding up the mailing address costs. And again, the reason why you need a mailing address is because when you're accessing this credit system, you need a location in the US, which you can receive your credit cards and receive potential mail from the banks and whatnot. And of course, we've got a service within our own company where we actually purchase real physical locations for our clients. And then there's incorporation filing, which is at around $300. Typically, they're actually lower. For Florida, it's about, I think it's about $125 per year, right? And then let's break down the other costs. You might think, well, JP, like this also means that I have to travel to the US, that I have to do all these different other things. Well, just keep in mind, like your profit is going to be 14,000 points on an annual basis, right? And so that's $10,000 per year. And so over here, what we do with our clients is that all they have to do is just travel once to the USA, and then they'll access the whole entire credit system. And so assuming that this trip might cost you about $4 to $5 grand, let's say $4 grand, right? Which is, by the way, you're balling out if you're going $4 grand, right? You're still profiting a ton of money when it comes to accessing this credit system. And so that already is like $4,000 per year in additional costs, right? And by the way, most of our clients just have to go to the US one time and then they'll access this credit system. So technically, the first year your profit will be about $6,000, and then the next year it's going to be about $10,000 because you don't have to go back to the US. I know some friends that are non-US citizens that have been living outside the US. They live in Poland, Europe, even some guys in Bali and whatnot. They've got access to American credit, have never stepped foot in the US, only one time, right? Just to access the personal bank accounts, the personal credit cards, and never step foot back in the US. And they've got these financial advantages. Now, if you look at this and compare it to the conservative basis and the foreign credit cards, you can clearly see that by having foreign credit cards or foreign debit cards specifically, you're pretty much either going to lose a bit of money or you are going to make a bit of profit. And so this over here in this bucket was me a few years ago. I was stuck with Canadian credit cards. I was not sure that accessing American credit was really a thing, until I realized that I've got a lot of friends that actually have US credit cards and they never told me. And so it's important to note over here that this is assuming $10,000 a month in ad spend, right? If you're doing $10,000 a month in lifestyle costs, not only ad spend, but like add everything up together, that's going to be a lot more profit, right? So let's increase the monthly spend to $100,000. Imagine you're a business owner, you're spending a decent amount of money, you're probably generating about $250,000 per month or whatnot, and you've got $100,000 worth of spend, right? So you add up your personal costs plus the ad spend costs, the business costs. This is how much you're spending. Your annual redemption on an aggressive basis is $144,000 a year. And your annual redemption on a conservative basis with US credit cards is going to be $43,000 per year, right? And so let's break that down how that looks like on the basis of like your actual profit. So your profit will be quite impressive, if I might not say. It's going to be $140,000 and then $40,000. So based on how much you can redeem your points at, or your points or your cash back, this is going to be the range at which you're going to take back profit from actually doing this, right? So this is exactly why I speak to non-US business owners and I tell them, like, listen, it's all about just breaking down the math and figuring out whether it's worth it or not. And on top of this, like, you get a vacation, like you get to go to Miami, you get to meet my team, and then you get away with credit cards that will make you more money because you have access to that credit system. And so keep in mind, like, a lot of people might ask, like, what about taxes? What about other minute details? Like, what if my address doesn't work out well? Like, and that's exactly why we've got services. If you're spending more than $10,000 a month, I don't expect you to do all of the homework when it comes to accessing the US credit system. So if you want to learn a bit more about our services, of course, you can apply down below and learn a bit more about how we help people out. And so just by looking at this calculator, you can see it clearly that it does make sense. But I'm not here to try to bring you to your own conclusion. If you're weighing out the options on the other side, if I want to access this system, this is how much I would make, along with all the bonuses, welcome bonuses, 0% funding and whatnot, payment processing, banking and whatnot. I know a lot of non-US citizens that have the US LLC. They've got the whole foundation set up. They've got their Mercury bank account, corporate credit cards, maybe Brex / whatnot set up, payment processing, but they just don't have access to the full scope of the American financial system. And so really what it comes to is learning a bit more about this legal process and realizing that it actually is possible. Like, there's literally a reason why the ITI and the individual taxpayer identification number was released to non-US citizens so that they can access the US financial system. It's literally like trillions of dollars worth of business that non-US citizens bring to America. And so it would be dumb for banks not to take their business, especially for you, a business owner that is doing money, that wants to engage in capitalism. They want your business, right? And so I've noticed a few non-US business owners tell me, like, well, JP, like, the Amex Platinum has such a high annual fee. Like, they've got a $600, $700 annual fee, whatever it is right now, right? They keep increasing their annual fee. But just break down the math and remember that if you're making a certain amount, you're spending on ads or you're spending on your business, which, by the way, like most businesses, you need to spend money to make more money, right? You're going to make more money by just having that credit card. Again, this is no financial promises. I want to make sure that you keep in mind that everyone's situation will be different. But just break down the math. How much are you spending? What will be your redemption rates? Which credit card will you get, like the Sapphire, the Amex Platinum, and then add up the incurred costs, which is the annual fees, mailing address, incorporation filing, and other related costs. Like, if you're going to go to Miami, you're going to meet our team, then you can say, okay, I'll spend probably about $5,000, $4,000 on hotels, costs, and whatnot, right? You add that up, you'll most likely still be in a profit because of that ad spend that you're making back, because of those business expenses that you're making back, as well as inventory, by the way, as well as if you've got staff, you can utilize your credit cards to pay your staff so you can get those points back. So that's just something that I believe a lot of non-US business owners are just not keeping in mind. Look, I get it. This whole process might feel a bit overwhelming, from your ITIN, setting up your LLC, getting those bank accounts, applying for credit cards. But I'll be completely transparent here. It's actually not a complicated process. It just takes time and attention. And most non-US business owners do not know where to start. And that's why I made this video over here that breaks down the 9-digit number that you need as your first step, which is getting your hands on that ITIN. This isn't just about credit cards or travel points. This is about unlocking tens of thousands of dollars that you're already entitled to because you run a successful company. Now, if you're serious about this and you're tired of leaving money on the table, you want to build American credit the right way. So click here to watch that video. That's all for me. I'll see you in the next one.